Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to The Train. My name's John Durrant. This is Condor Online, and my guest today is Martin Colclough, Minister Martin Colclough,
Yes.
who's the Minister of the SNU.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Martin. Hello. Nice to have you on board.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for getting on at this station. How very nice.
It was nice to be invited.
We're going to talk today about a number of different things, but I know Martin's got some new ventures that he's about to pursue, and he's got a gift for me as well. We'll talk about that later. But I know that you've been involved in spiritualism and spiritual matters for a long time, Martin. I know you've got a lot of experience. Where exactly did you start?
Well, if you go back to the beginning, I would say it was the 4th of January 1997.
Really?
Yes. Because that was the day that my father passed to the spirit world. And almost immediately I started hearing voices.
Really?
While he was still in the ambulance outside, voices in my head talking to me. Which sounds irrational, but...
No, I'm not. I'm just a little speechless.
Yes.
That is amazing. And what did the voices say? Anything? Were they
initially
audible?
they were just... Initially I thought it was me because the way I was talking to it, I felt it was myself answering myself. I can't remember those bits. But on the way home, the voice kept saying, go to the church, go to the church. And I'd replied things like, no, I've got to go home and tell my children the grandfather's passed away. And on the Sunday, the next day, because the 4th was a Saturday, on Sunday the 5th, I was going back to my mother's. And the voice was saying, go to the church, go to the church. No, I've got to get home and see to my mum, you know, she's lost her husband. And I didn't realise for a couple of days what it meant until I drove past a spiritualist church. And the irony of it is, the spiritualist church used to be a Methodist church, and it was the churches where my parents got married.
Ah.
So I thought, I said, right, I'll go to the church, but just let me get all the funeral over with and all the rest of it. So I think it was about the 16th of January, I went back to work and everything had settled down, we'd got his ashes back. And I went to work and the lady, the clerk, was saying that how sad it must be, and he wasn't ill, because he wasn't ill, it was all of a sudden, it was a clot that had gone to his heart, and it had played a part in him passing away.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to the spiritualist church tonight. She said, which one? I said, the one in Tunstall. She said, oh, I'm a member there. I'll go with you. So there's all these little things that kept building up. And then I wanted to join a development group and things. And the church I first went to didn't have a development group.
Yeah.
And I started talking to one of the committee there, because the spiritualist churches are run by committees. And another lady heard me asking about a development group. And she goes, well, there's a new church opening in Burslem. So again, is it a coincidence? So I went to the new church, and that's how it took off. I started off as a healer, and then developed my mediumship by sitting in circle.
So there's no such thing as a coincidence?
I don't think so.
That's really interesting. I've not heard a story quite as exact as that. Nobody's been able to give me the time and place before.
Oh, yeah.
But something, I had a very similar experience. It wasn't somebody who died, but I was told to go and talk to this person. He will be able to give you all the information you want.
Yeah.
And then that person told me to go to this church.
Yes.
And they will be able to help you. And they did. And yeah, very similar thing. And I think a lot of people I speak to who are in this position have actually had that kind of experience. That is quite amazing.
To carry on with the coincidences, when I went to the church, the president said to me, oh, you've got the gift. So I was like, what's the gift? Because I've been a soldier for 24 years, you know, so this kind of thing hadn't happened to me in all that time. Although I'd had some, what I know now to be mediumistic experiences through life. And she put me in the intermediates group. When I went there, it was going completely over my head. What they were telling me, I hadn't got a clue. And the little voice kept coming in my head. Go to the beginning. Go to the beginning. So I went up to at the end of the second class. I said, Sally, it's too much for me. I said, there's somebody telling me go to the beginning. She goes, I know, you're in the beginners group next week. She'd heard the same
voice.
same information, and it just went on. And I followed that voice all the time.
So, tell me something. You said you started with healing, then you developed your mediumship.
Yeah.
So, I've heard people say that you can't be a healer and a medium. It doesn't work.
That's a contradiction, because the healer is a medium. It's healing mediumship, and I know within the SNU they're trying to promote that at the moment, that we start to give healing the respect that mainstream mediumship, for want of a better word, demonstrative mediumship, they're trying to get healing the same recognition.
Yeah, but you see, mediums stand up on a platform and give messages to people, and people are either thrilled to bits, or they burst into tears, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
A healing it takes place more often in a quiet, calm atmosphere, and often just one-to-one.
Yeah, but you can get the same response.
I'm not suggesting for 1 minute you can't get the same response, but yeah, it's a much quieter, calmer thing.
Yeah.
And healers, I don't think, do necessarily get the respect they deserve, or get the adoration in some cases that they deserve. Okay. So you started developing hearing voices. What, as a medium, how do you experience your mediumship? How do you experience your connection?
Well, there's something they call the 3 clairs. Some people say there's more, and I don't say it, but I like to keep everything simple. So there's clairvoyance, which is clear seeing of spirit, clairaudience, clear hearing, and then clairsentience, which is sensing of spirit. But then other people bring in the clear smelling and the clear tasting. If clairsentience covers the senses, that's enough for me.
Yeah, me too. So what about you?
I use all 3, not all at the same time, but within a message you might use 2 together. I can see and she's telling me, or I can see and I can feel.
Right, now then, hang on a second. You're saying you use. Do you use, or are you being used?
Both. I use those tools.
So you say to whoever's helping you, whoever's working with you, I want to be able to talk about this, or I want to be able to feel this, or I want to be able to see this. Is that what you do?
Yeah, I can give you a perfect example. The first time I've ever tried it, but I know you spoke to other mediums who've done it more often, but by listening to you, I tried an experiment at Wolverhampton Church on Sunday, and there was a young man there, and they were thanking him for bringing the flowers into the church to commemorate his mum, and his name was Kevin. So I said, it'd be lovely if Kevin's mum come. It'd be lovely if Kevin's mum come. And this lady, in my mind, I could see her sitting in front of me with an old woolen type coat on, typical old grandmother coat, a big plastic handbag, a PVC handbag, and she said, I'm Mary. And that's all she said. So she's shown me, and she spoke to me. So yes, she's used me in a way. And then I said, I've got a lady here described, and her name's Mary. And Kevin, who's sitting right in front of us, he goes, that's my mum. So that's how it works. You have to have the courage to test your mediumship, to try your mediumship, and not just be happy to stay in a one-way street. Oh, this works for me, so I'm going to stick at it. You've got to try and experiment all the time.
And this was after I told you about Karen.
Karen, yeah.
Who actually says, who do you want to speak to? Right, hang on a minute, are you there? And she does that.
And I've never tried it. I've just gone along with who's come along.
Yep.
And listened to what they've had to say. Going to the church, I'm coming to this person here. I've got your father with me. His name's Bill. And but because you told me about Karen, I thought, I'm going to try that tonight. And the chance arose purely by chance, because Kevin had brought his mum some flowers. So I knew it was an anniversary, and I said it'd be lovely if Mary's mum had come.
That's really nice.
I want Mary's mum to come. And not Mary's mum, sorry, Kevin's mum.
I bet Kevin was chuffed.
Oh, he was. He came shaking hand afterwards, and he got a little bit emotional.
That is brilliant. I'm sorry about my phone keeps dinging off here, but I can't turn it off. No, I'm a very busy man, yeah. I've got all these people who want to catch the train. They're trying to buy tickets.
Are you a technophobe?
Can I ask you another question? Can you define, what would you call a working medium? Can you define a working medium?
Well, I think there's 2 kinds of working medium. There's a professional medium, like myself. I've given up what I would have called mainstream work, and now I work all around the world. I've been to Australia, I've been to Canada, I've been to Sweden, Italy, lots of places. A professional medium, and you're still working the same as what you would call a working medium, who goes onto the platform either in a church or in a centre. In some of them work in nightclubs. If you look at Tony Stockwell and Derek Okora, who you know well, they work in big venues, you know, like the big sellouts, and they are professional mediums. The ones that work in churches, they're working purely for expenses, and usually around 30 pence to 35 pence a mile.
Okay, fine.
So if you travel 20 miles, it's 40 miles round trip.
Yeah.
That's
What?
£12.
Okay, I have heard people say, yeah, that you're given the gift,
Yeah.
you should be giving it back.
Yeah.
What's your view on that? What's your opinion?
So when they go to watch a famous guitarist or pianist who's
Yeah.
been given a gift, you don't go and watch them for free, and they charge a lot more than a medium charges you.
And
It's still a gift.
the other thing, I agree with that. And the other thing I would add to that is, in the same way that a pianist and a guitar player have spent years honing their craft and have to continue to practice all the time, would you not say the same thing about
A good medium will practice all the time, through meditation, through regular work, sitting in circle,
there's got to be
attending
a daily
courses.
yeah you mentioned attending courses. Did you do that
That's a
on
nice
purpose?
segue.
That was nice way of doing that.
Completely unintentional.
You, I understand, are moving into something new,
Yeah.
and you are proposing something. I don't think it's new as such, but something a little bit different from the point of view of courses.
Yeah.
And you were talking about teaching mediumship.
Yes.
Now, a lot of mediums are going to say, "Oh, well, I teach that anyway. I run a circle and I teach people development and so
And I
on."
respect every single person that does that. The difference with me is I've always been in training. When I was in the SNU, I was on the board of directors. I've been on several committees. The longest one was the Train Awards Committee for 10 and a bit years.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that's when we
That's
first
how we met.
It
Yeah.
was how we met. And all the time I was driven, why aren't spiritualist courses recognised outside by an awarding body?
Define what you mean. The difference. Stop you there, but define the difference between being awarded outside and awarding body. What exactly do you mean?
An awarding body is someone who's recognised, registered and recognised by Ofqual and offer qualifications in a given field. And it'll be a level 2, a level 3, similar to NVQ, City and Guilds. They're called RQFs at the moment. And it gives you points towards going to higher education qualifications.
Right, so we know we can't get a higher university qualification in spiritualism,
Not
although
yet.
you can get it. I love the word "not yet." I hope nobody missed that. Not yet, but you can get a qualification and a degree in religion or in religious studies, and in actual fact, qualifications, the sort of points you're talking about, would go towards that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Does that mean then that the sort of qualifications that the SNU offer are not worth anything?
I wouldn't say they're not worth any, because I hold about 10 of their qualifications, or awards as they're called.
Congratulations.
Including being a minister of the SNU.
Okay.
But if I leave the SNU, then I lose all those years of work, all the years of study.
But surely you've still got the bits of paper.
No, you sign to say that if you leave the SNU, you'll send everything back. When you leave the SNU, you're no longer entitled to
Does that go for any awarding body any body who actually makes awards to people who are members of that body? If they leave that body, do they lose those awards?
I can't speak for all bodies, but with the SNU it's certainly true.
That's really
It's
interesting.
an internal qualification, and you can use the letters after your name, and they're recognised within the SNU.
Okay, so we had Christina Parfit on the train 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Christina, minister of the Corinthian Church, or the Corinthian Order. I don't quite know exactly what you would call it, but she's and they proposed to her that she should become a minister, and she was voted into the ministry with them.
Okay.
Now, does that mean if she leaves the Corinthian order that she loses that ministry?
I can't answer that because I don't know.
That's really interesting, and I
I
think
would say so.
I need to do a bit of
research it.
Yeah, I need to
give a
yes.
definitive
I was going to
answer.
say I need to do a bit of research into that, have a look at it and see, because that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
But what is more interesting is the fact that the qualifications that you've got, or the courses that you've got, are actually from an awarding body.
An awarding body.
And what are the courses?
Well, they're called FQPs, which is Focus on Quality Provision, and at the moment they're not on the credit framework, but the certificate comes from an awarding body, so it's a qualification.
Okay.
And you can keep that for life.
Okay. And who's the awarding body?
Focus Awards.
Okay. And how does one get to, well, I'm going to tell everybody how you get to see these, because if you want to know more about these awards and more about what you do to get an award, you need to go to www.tsfellowship.org. And on there, if you go to the Contact Us section, put your name in, and Martin
will answer your questions.
will answer your questions. And we'll actually come back to you, and he'll tell you how much it costs, what you've got to do. How much does it cost?
For one course, at level 2, it's £50. But because we believe that mediums should be good speakers, be able to speak in public, we expect them to do the inspirational speaking course. So we give them, or we don't give them, we sell them the 2 courses. Freudian slip. We sell them the 2 courses for £75.
Okay. Now, I've got to say that as far as courses are concerned, that is not expensive.
No. And
That really is not expensive.
£10 of that goes straight to Focus Awards.
So
your registration fee.
Okay, so looking at this, it appears to me that you've really got a bit of a bee in your bonnet about it, about getting some qualifications out there that people can keep.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Being trained. And I know a lot of mediums will say, oh, Spirit give you everything. That's like a geography teacher giving you a book of maps and saying, all you need to know about the world is in that book of maps.
Yeah, okay, I've had a book of maps, I know what you mean.
Or a car mechanic. Would you trust a car mechanic with your brand new Mercedes? I haven't got a Mercedes, I've got a Ford. Would you trust somebody?
Ross has got a Mercedes, yeah.
Would you trust someone with your brand new car dealership if you haven't got all those pieces of paper on the wall? And what it is, I'd like to bring more trust into it, because, and I'm sure all those mediums that think we don't need a qualification will agree that mediumship, psychics, we've got a bad name, because most people see us as playing on the need of, the wants of the needy.
It's a parlour game. It's a Victorian parlour game.
Yeah. And we're good guessers.
And we read body
in the
language.
occult section.
Yeah, and we read body language. And when you write a book, they don't actually know which section to put it in.
Usually in the occult.
Yeah, usually, yeah. But that's really interesting, because the name of spiritualism and the fact that people, I'm going to say this, I'm going to get shouted at, but I'm going to say it. There are people who go and do a couple of sittings, and they have a couple of sittings from a medium, and then they go and sit in a couple of circles, and they give a couple of messages in the circle. The next thing is they've got cards printed with their name and spirituous medium written after it,
or clairvoyant mediums,
or whatever. And frankly, they often don't know a great deal apart from what they've been given.
They don't understand the mechanics.
And it's understanding the mechanics and knowing what you can and can't say to somebody.
Yeah.
You hold a lot of power in your hands as a medium, don't you?
You've got a lot of responsibility. I would say 90% of people who come to a spiritualist church for the first time and to a spiritualist medium for the first time have been recently bereaved or are suffering with bereavement.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of responsibility. It's not about charging somebody whatever they charge and just getting on with it. It's about being able to speak to them.
And it's also, if I may add to that, it's not just a matter of being able to prove that somebody's come along to talk to them. Why have they come there? Yeah. I mean, it takes quite a lot of effort very often to come through, to talk to somebody. And it must be quite frustrating, I would have thought, for some spirits to be dealing with a medium who doesn't really understand what they're talking about and why they're saying these things and can't decipher what's going on. And I think
Well, they're showing them something and they say they're not telling me anything. That's because they're not observing.
Yeah, it's a matter of observation. Now there's a third. We've talked about 2 courses. What's the third one?
2 courses. Oh, the other one, yes.
Yeah.
We've applied to go to another awarding body, so that all our members of staff, we've got 3, it sounds all our members of staff, we're a recognised training centre, so Ofqual recognise us as a training centre. All our staff are qualified to a minimum of level 3. 2 of us to level 4, and Gary, who lives down south, he's qualified to level 5 in teaching and assessing. So we've applied to an awarding body to be able to teach those qualifications to people who are interested about teaching in the spiritual sector. So I'm trying to make spiritualism more professional. Instead of just saying I'm teaching spiritualism, if we teach anything else in this country, you have to have a recognised qualification. And at the moment it's AET, some people might recognise it as PETLS, but at the moment it's level 3 AET, Adult Education and Training. And that includes an assessment module. And
this would also mean that people will be able to insure themselves,
which
is quite important, especially in this day and age, and also be able to set themselves up in a proper fashion.
Because it doesn't just teach you to teach, it teaches you how to think about the disabled people that might come to your class, the people who might speak a different language who come to your class. Is the building suitable for disabled people? You have to look at everything.
Now I can hear people out there saying, it's all very well you saying that, but that's not what spiritualism is all about. Spiritualism is all about giving messages to people, helping people and moving them forward. You're turning it into some kind of job.
If we got it recognised as a job first, I've got a lady who's working to try and get 2 of my courses that I've already written recognised on the credit framework. That's the first step to having somebody write a university course. Is there a need for it? And if we've got people who we can say they work in mediums, they work in the spiritualist sector as teachers, spiritualism gets more respect. And
you see, respected. I believe actually that it's all about teaching. I don't actually. I believe it's all about healing and teaching and mediumship. I think it was Steve Cavis who said on here that in actual fact giving a message to somebody is a healing experience, and that's quite true. And the way I look at it is that it is a matter of healing and it's a matter of helping people, but it's also a matter of teaching people, helping them to understand and helping them to understand why they're there and what it is that they're doing, and it can help people. And it can help you move forward as an individual, which I think is really what it's all about. It's all this helping and moving forward. You were also, we also talked. Sorry, I've had my little. I have my little plug.
Keep moving along.
Sorry, one of the other things we talked about earlier on today was about trance. And I know that there's a lot of interest from people in trance. And I know that there's a lot of discussion about it and how you can go into trance and speak in tongues and use voices, and you're laughing, I love it. Talk to me about it.
Well, for a start, I don't call it trance. Again, as I said, with the healing, it's healing mediumship. With trance, it's trance mediumship. Anyone can go into a trance, but it isn't mediumship. You can go into a trance driving your car.
Hang on a minute. I call that going into automatic mode.
You're in a trance mediumship. Is an altered state of consciousness, like hypnosis or meditation. You're into an altered state of consciousness, and even though your eyes are open when you're driving the car and you have that moment, you go, "Oh, how did I get here?" Your mind's recorded everything, but you're in an altered state of consciousness. But it's a form of trance. That's why I like to call it trance mediumship, because you're setting the intention then to work in the trance energies and with people from the spirit world.
So what about some of these people I've seen who suggest that they're in trance and they change their voice? because they're in trance.
The change of voice is a representation by the medium of how they believe the control, which is the communicating spirit, spoke. But
So-
there's actually no need to do that. If you read some of Harry Edwards' books, he was an advocate of not needing to change your voice.
Well, Harry Edwards was probably one of the best healers
One of the most
and one of the
famous,
best trance healers that we've heard about.
Yeah,
And in actual fact, he in teaching my mentor,
yeah,
and she still talks about him and what he does and what he doesn't do.
yeah.
And I can see that we're about to approach a station, so let's continue. But knowing that we are coming to an end,
Okay.
we're coming towards the platform at the moment. So, if you've got this trance state, that I'm pursuing this because it really interests me. If you've got this trance state that you can go into,
Yeah.
you're saying there's no need to change your voice. So people who say that they've been taken over by another entity and that entity has changed their voice, what do you say to that?
I don't want to put anybody down.
I'm not
say
suggesting.
that
No.
they're bad,
I
but I
I'm
don't
not
believe they're
suggesting
taken over.
No, okay.
It's a cooperation. It used to be called control. It still is called control. But in my book, Simply Transmediumship, that's my gift to you in a moment. I call it that chapter is called Control Cooperation. It's a cooperating spirit. They cannot make us do anything that we don't agree with, that we are uncomfortable with.
Okay, I get that.
So the voice changing, and before anybody thinks, oh, it'll just be him sitting there talking, my voice changes because it's a representation of the guide or one of the guides that comes through, and that
Okay.
have several guides
Yeah.
that will come and talk in the trance state. And it's a representation. Well, if you have a Chinese guide, I know we spoke about this a couple of days ago and out. If you've got a Chinese guide, there's no need to spit rice to prove it. The congregation, the audience, has got to be able to understand what's coming through. And the spirit world is an intelligence. So why would they come through in a silly voice or a squeaky voice that no one could understand?
And not just that actually makes a fool of themselves.
Yeah.
And is really poking fun at things.
One of our courses is working in the altered state with a mediumship. And that's because I've seen a lot of bad trance. And it's about educating people to do it properly.
Okay, I've got that. I understand that fully. Your gift to me. Listen, guys. Martin Colclough has written a book. In fact, he's written two.
Yeah.
But the one he's going to give to me, and he's now currently signing on my behalf. And later, if you go on eBay, you'll find this book advertised.
It is actually on sale on eBay.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, I know that in this book you address some of the subjects. Thank you very much indeed. Simply Transmediumship.
The other book is Simply Mediumship.
Okay.
And my third book's due, which is Simply Healing Mediumship. Because I believe all mediumship is simple, we complicate it. Or people complicate
Actually, I was going to say something else, but I think that is the place to end as we are drawing into this platform.
Yeah.
But that is the place to end. So, mediumship is really quite simple.
Definitely.
We're the ones who complicate it.
Yeah.
Martin, it's been an absolute
Lovely.
pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
This has been The Train, and this has been Minister Martin Colclough.
And this has been John Durrant.
Thank you very much, everybody.